me because I do have a reputation for being aggressive and I'll be loud all I want and I have something to say. I want to be heard. That's what makes me like that. So when someone tells me to be quiet, I get mad. The only reason why my level is going up is because you're not listening. You know what I mean? But we walk these streets and then we stole cars and drove down these streets.
And this is all East Boston right here?
This is East Boston. This is Maverick. Yep. This is the Maverick Projects behind us.
Welcome back to the W Number, guys. I got my little sticker here. I'm gonna leave it on the table before we go, but I got a great guest here tonight. Danielle is her name, right? It's not just Chad's girlfriend, but Chad Connors is her boyfriend. He's currently incarcerated doing a life sentence in Sousa Baranowski for what we believe and what we feel at the bottom of our heart is a wrongful conviction because of the situation. We're gonna get into it more in a different video, but this is more about her today. And we're just gonna, get into where we are first and why it means so much to you. But why do I feel like you didn't grow up around here?
East Boston was East Boston. So I grew up at like this guy's an idiot going on the wrong side. He's definitely not from East Boston.
We're gonna go to Chad's house, right?
Plaza, which is on Border Street down the street. But this is where I hung. This is where I came with my friends. This is where I made my friendships at a young age.
Yeah.
This is also, like I said before, and I'll just reiterate, this is where not I met Chad, because I've known Chad for a long time prior to that, but this is where we hung out. At one point, there would be 50, 60 kids down here.
Yeah.
Now it's all the yuppies. They don't want those 50, 60 kids sitting down here.
Right.
It boggles my mind because they'll buy a house right here, right? There's a house. They'll buy that house. This is the airport, and they'll complain about airport noise. Well, then don't buy a fucking house at the airport.
Right.
Like they're just so privileged. So they took a lot of our community away, but there's one thing they'll never be able to take away from us is the memories that we have here. And this is kind of where my story began.
Right.
This is actually where I had my very first drink, and it was St. Ides, and it was a 40 ounce. And I was with my best friend, and she was throwing up, and I was so pissed off at her because to me that was a waste. I wanted more, and she was puking the more that I could have had.
Right.
And that was when I was 12. I mean, I started smoking cigarettes, and we would actually hide because I hung around people that were much older. I just had more in common with them because mentally I was so advanced.
Right.
But I had that one drink, and I remember getting caught because she was puking, and her mother didn't know why. Like 12 years old, coming in the house at 7 o'clock at night while you're throwing up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we got caught, and I got the shit kicked out of me when I went home and got punished. And so that's what forced me to be able to hide my addiction later on in life when I became a mother. And it's not that I wanted to hide what I was doing. I was a functioning addict, so and it was a way for me to self-medicate and function for my kids. So I was able always to maintain the outside. That was the thing. East Boston was a melting pot.
It still is kind of a melting pot, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. But back in the day, my heritage alone, Italian-Irish descent.
Yeah.
So if you were a straight Italian, you lived in the North End. If you were straight Irish, you lived in Charlestown. You know what I mean? But if you were Italian-Irish, you lived in East Boston.
Right.
That's where, a lot of the families were built over here. This is the new Maverick. This is no...
I know. This is the new... That's what I say. They upgraded big time.
But you can change what goes on the outside. You can't change what goes on the inside. No. I would never could maintain my inside.
Right.
So it's not that I was putting on a front because I'm more than capable. I say I don't have a green thumb because I can't take care of plants. They die on me. But animals and humans, I'm very good with. And I was around a lot of influential people at a young age too.
Yeah.
My story kind of starts with my mom. She got electrocuted when I was 8. She wasn't around. So during those influential years, the only time I ever got any kind of attention was when I was doing negative things. And at that point, I didn't get in trouble with the law. I pretty much really did it, but I have a laundry list of, we'll say, one-night stays. Not one-night stands, one-night stays in jail.
Okay, we'll definitely get into those one-night stays.
Yep.
And, all the shit that got you there. But let's start off first way back, right? Like you said, this was the place you took your first drink.
And we continued to drink down here in all good fun.
Before you took your first drink, though, it led up to your first drink. You know what I mean?
And I didn't know it until I got to my recovery stage 5 years ago.
What was your home life like? Like your mom, your dad, your brothers and sisters?
I just have one brother. He was 2 years older than me. And I explain it as I grew up in a black picket fence. Everybody has issues inside the home. My family as a whole, not just my immediate family, my mother, my brother, and my father. My family as a whole like to hide things. I mean, they were old school, but not talking about things is what led to me struggling for so many years, because I did go to my family and they didn't believe in addiction, and they didn't believe in that, because my brother's actually a Boston police officer, and
Really?
because he's been, I think, so far into his job that he became complacent and he desensitized himself to the fact that I was his sister. And I went to him with my struggle, and he told me that I'll be okay, that I can just stop drinking. But I couldn't, because at that point I wasn't drinking as much as I was towards the end of my drinking career, but I was drinking enough that I needed to wake up to a drink, where my shakes were just like this.
Not for nothing, but a lot of police families, it seems like, suffer from alcoholism or suffer from alcoholism themselves as a police officer.
Addiction, I didn't know, ran in my family because of the lack of communication within the family. I didn't realize until the family broke down when my grandparents passed away who actually had problems, because you heard it from other people. You would never hear it from the family, but we were such a good family unit. Like my father's side of the family, I have childhood memories of sitting at the table. We had a kids' table, because that was the Italian side of my family. My mother's side was the Irish side. But it was consistent. I mean, I grew up with my cousins as if they were my brothers and sisters.
He feels like he's going to say something stupid, and I already told him nothing that comes out of his mouth will ever be stupid, and no question is one that you can't answer.
Hold on, Chad.
This is good old East Boston.
Sisters. We were just a close-knit family. And like I said, it broke down when the grandparents passed away, because on both sides of my family, both of my grandmothers were the matriarchs of each family.
Really?
So they were the powerhouse. So once they passed away, it kind of the domino effect, and the family broke down. And then on my mother's side of the family, we would have what we called a family picnic, and I have pictures of those family picnics. We would get together as a family at my aunt's house, who bought a house in Billerica and had a pool, and we would come to, and everybody pitched in for food and stuff. And I have those childhood memories too. So my childhood growing up, just like everybody else's, had its issues, but addiction wasn't one that was brought to the forefront. And I also didn't grow up with alcohol in my home. I never saw my mother and father drunk. The very first time I saw them drunk, I had thrown them, me personally, I got into a car accident, and I had come into some money, and I was all about family, and not that I was trying to one up my brother, but in my head, because I lived in his shadow, he was the one that was doing the drugs during the teenage years, and I wasn't, but I got accused of it. So maybe that's why I fell into addiction. It was easier, more accepted for me than it was from him. But I had thrown my parents' anniversary party, and that was the first time, and I was 16.
Yeah.
That was the very first time in my entire life that I had ever seen my parents drunk. Not even my mother. My father was stone cold drunk, fell on the bed with his sneakers on, and that just wasn't part of it. But I saw my father get up and go to work every day. He had a 9th grade education. My mother was a high school graduate, and we lived in the projects. I consider a project, Shore Plaza. It's not the typical project by Boston Public, Boston Housing Authority, but it was a low income, and that's where I grew up. And we stayed there until I got out of 8th grade, because my family put us through a parochial school. I went to St. Rose in Chelsea.
What was it like growing up in the housing projects or Shore Plaza?
For me, I have the best memories there, because that was when community existed, and that's where some of my friendships that I still hold today, male or female. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about being friends with a guy and going to somebody else saying, you know how that goes. People get jealous or whatever, because my friendships didn't even start in our teenage years. Those friendships that I still hold near and dear to me today started literally on the playground when we didn't have anything to gain from each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, whose mother's got the best popsicle? That was our biggest.
Who's gonna be the Red Ranger?
Yeah, I mean, we played bombardment, which is dodgeball. We called it bombardment, and we called it Ilario, which is manhunt. And in that little community, we as kids growing up didn't have to go run the streets at that point.
Right.
And now this is the new Maverick. This is no.
I know. This is the new. That's why I say they upgraded big
But you
time.
can change what goes on the outside. You can't change what goes on the inside.
No, I've been through there a few times. You got the old Italian women, but mostly Spanish. There's a lot of Spanish.
But I'm saying, as far as being a project, you made the outside look good, but the same shit still goes on in this project that it did.
And that's the other thing that led to my addiction too. For some reason, that lifestyle drew me, because I was so smart and I was on the right track to go to college, and I could have been so much more than I was, but I am proud of being an addict. I will always be a drug addict, and I will always be an alcoholic, but right here, right now, I have the gift of recovery.
Right.
And that's when I share my story. I will sit here and tell a drunkalog, but we all know how to get high.
Right.
We all know how to run the game that comes along with the drugs. It's a lot of people fail, and I shouldn't say fail. They fail to give themselves the credit that they're deserving of.
Yeah.
Because they feel like they can't do it. You can do anything you set your mind to.
So let me bring you back, because you said the first time you ever took a sip of alcohol was in this park.
Yes.
So explain that night. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I thought the malt liquor that we were drinking was disgusting, but I like the effect. The head change. I actually felt normal because my anxiety had gone away. And all those things really didn't exist as kids, like for my generation, they had depression and anxiety, and you went to a head doctor for that. You went to a therapist for that. And at that time, that's when you actually saw a psychiatrist. You sat with a psychiatrist, and you didn't go to them for meds. They were really trying to help, or you kept it within the family. I remember the head change.
Yeah.
It made me feel like I could process a thought or not feel that anxiety of the outside world, because I got jumped when I was 12. And that was so I had gotten jumped sometime before my birthday, like 11 turning 12. And then that summer is when I took my first drink down here, because I didn't know what I did when I got jumped. And that pain of not knowing what I did to somebody else bothered me, because I do have a reputation for being aggressive, and I'll be loud all I want, and I have something to say. I want to be heard. That's what makes me like that. So when someone tells me to be quiet, I get mad, because the only reason why my level is going up is because you're not listening. You know what I mean? But
So you said you got jumped, though. Let's talk about that a little bit, because it's obviously one of your first traumas, or your first big traumas anyway, right?
What I experienced personally, yes. I saw other traumatic things younger in life, like with my mother getting electrocuted. I saw the trauma from that, of that electrocution taking my mother away from me at a pivotal part. I don't want to touch too much on it, but it's still really sensitive, and it happened in 1987. Like, it gets me emotional. But that's okay. I have to work through those emotions, because if I don't, I'm going to pick up again.
That's real.
You know
what I mean?
You have to
That
sit in your own
emotion's real.
shit sometime. It's just, so my mother worked for the MBTA. She was, she had gotten the job, and we were, on the right track. My mother and father were saving money to buy a house. And 1987, January 2nd of 1987, my father received a phone call that something had happened. And he literally went next door, knocked on the lady's door. Next thing I know, that lady's in my house. Like, we had adjoining porches. So she could even open the porch and she could have watched us, but she knew something that I didn't. And then everything started getting all of a sudden, my mother wasn't home to cook dinner and all this other stuff. She had gotten electrocuted. And that she worked for the MBTA, and somebody getting off her bus stepped into that live wire and was getting electrocuted, and she saw it. And because she's just like us, she likes to help people, there was no minding your business at that time. There was no pulling your phone out to watch this guy get electrocuted. There was her having that instinct that somebody needs her help. And she stepped off the bus and got him out of the electrocution, not realizing she stepped in that same live wire, and it got 600 volts of electricity shot through her entire body, and it came out the right side of her face, missed her brain. I probably still, I don't like to do the maybes or the what ifs, but I probably would have still been an addict anyway. But that, I think, started my trauma, and the things of making excuses as to why I was acting the way I was acting.
Well, there was probably some, consequences for that for her. Did she have a scar on her face? Or
no, but it became a problem because we're not sure, but they think it was early onset multiple sclerosis, which she still suffers from to this day.
Wow. So
she couldn't work anymore. She wasn't an active mother like she was. Like, my mother was like me with my kids. I was active in their lives. If we went to the park, I wasn't sitting on the bench on my phone. I was pushing them on the swing or on the swing myself, showing them how to jump off, because they didn't have their father in their lives. So I always tried to overcompensate, not only for the fact that I was hiding my addiction from them, because that's one thing I always tell my kids: if I expect you not to lie to me, then I can't lie to you. And that, even though I wasn't telling them, but they were too young for that information, like, your mother's an addict. I didn't want to bring that to them, because I didn't want to admit that I was an addict until I had to admit that I had a problem and I was an addict. And that was one of the hardest things I ever did, was to them, is admit it to them.
Sorry to cut you off, sorry.
That's okay, no.
Going back to your teenage years, what do you remember just from growing up in your teen years, and If you have any stories about Chad or anything that you could share, like some good stories about your teen years.
Yeah, so it looks kind of funny, but it is what it is. My actual best friend that I was friends with,
We're gonna go to Chad's house, right?
yeah, one that he
Steve's
lived
old
in growing up.
Growing up, yeah.
So it's this, see this blue house right in front of us with the staircase? Yep.
So
221.
221.
It didn't look like this when he lived here. I mean, the building did, but not the staircase.
Damn, huh? So this is the neighborhood Chad grew up in. I wish he could have told us some stories about it, but I'm sure that
He's probably getting fucked with the phone. He popped right up until she found out that Chad and I were talking, because we weren't talking in a romantic fashion at the beginning of us talking. It was more or less because he knew me from back in the day.
Right.
Yeah, we used to hang down here, and so she lived down the street on Olean Street, and Chad used to jump in his window. He called it his window.
Yeah.
It was her window to her bedroom.
Yeah.
And I was in the bed and she was on the floor. And when he jumped in the window, he jumped on me. And I said, oh, no, wrong person. And he went on the floor. But we were just talking about that because I was like, do you remember that?
So we're not South Shore. It's different.
Webster
It's a different
and
aesthetic. This is Olean Street,
Yep.
And this is what street that Chad jumped in that window on my lap. It's further down this way, but I'm going to take a left right here. This is Sumner Street. So if we were to go take a right, it's a one way. But if we take a left, it's going to take us to Maverick, which is where a lot of Chad's history is as far as how he started doing wrong things and right in this neighborhood. So he jumped in the window, jumping into her bed because he was dating her. That's one that he actually had a child with.
Yeah.
That's his daughter's mother. And when he jumped through the window, he jumped and I woke right up. I was like, no, wrong friend. I didn't know if he was going to do something, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things. Chad was a big goofball back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, his height made him even goofier.
Yeah.
And the way he walked made it even goofier because you could tell Chad could be a mile away. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you would know that it was him, even if you're blind as a bat, just by the way he walks. I always tell him you lean to the left, you know?
Yeah.
But that was one of the stories. There was another night that he was down here. We were on in between those, so that's like a drain thing, and then that's like a little, like a cutout that you could walk to.
Yeah.
And we were in between there, and one of our friends, they called him Doughboy. That was his nickname, and I'll keep it there because I have my things with him.
Yeah.
But he was on the rocks, shit-faced drunk. He had beers in the rocks, you know, shit-faced drunk. And I remember like everybody saying, get him. And I'm pretty sure that Chad was the one that went and got him off the rocks.
Yeah.
'Cause he was just drunk. And if you ever fell in the water, like, of course, one of us was going to do it, but it was like, not it. And who the hell wants to jump in the harbor 20 years ago?
Yeah.
You come out with the third eye, you know what I mean? It wasn't clean like it is now. Because like right now, it smells good.
Yeah.
It didn't smell like this back in the day, but we still come down here to hang. There's something about this area. It's not just the memories that we have. It's like we're the only city of Boston that if you're from East Boston, and a lot of people will know what I'm saying when I say this, you don't know what it's like to be from East Boston. It's special. Like it gets me emotional about that too. It's so special because we were just such a small, like if somebody had problems with somebody in another city, that's when the whole East Boston kids came together. But the Heights kids, and this is the point. So the Heights kids was Orion Heights, like where the Madonna Shrine is.
I was with you upstairs. I'm sorry, I mean that.
No, that's
That's
okay.
all right, man.
I was with you upstairs. I know you got to go. I was with you and your brother. I was upstairs.
Okay.
P3, P2, N2, and all that. Boss.
Word.
I was there.
Yeah, if you want, write your phone number down somewhere and then swing it
Yeah, I
through.
seen you. You know, you was there with my homie Song 5 and shit. My fault.
Yeah. Getting back to our little podcast. So.
People can't understand what it's like to be from here unless you're from here. Like I can't sit here and try to convince you of it because it's a feeling that you have. I will always, always, always be proud of where I'm from.
Right.
I just don't want to ever come back here because of the community and the way that it's changed.
Yeah.
And I know things change, but East Boston, unfortunately, didn't change for the better. It's a clusterfuck here. You can't get parking. You know what I mean? And it's like if street cleaning, nobody knocks on your door to remind you like they did back in the day. They let you get the ticket, and everybody's like whining and bitching about everything, but they're the ones that are the problem.
Right.
And I don't want to live in a community that I grew up in and see it deteriorate the way that it, not that it deteriorated, it's gotten better as far as like looks wise.
Yeah.
And it was never a ghetto.
Yeah.
We never identified as a ghetto of East Boston. You know what I mean? We thought thought we were. You know,
Only ghetto I kind of know of in East Boston's Maverick Projects.
and that isn't
And they've
even too.
upgraded big time
And
over
that's
there.
actually where the kid that we had the mural at the beginning.
Yeah.
That's where his wife is from. Do you know what I mean? So she grew up there. So just good people. My point is, good people, all walks of life. It's not where you live; it's how you live.
Right.
And East Boston instilled a lot of morals and values, because without a strong, solid foundation, I believe that a lot of us that are blessed with recovery wouldn't be here without those strong values and those strong, solid foundations that were built right here. You know, the friendships that I've had, unfortunately, we've lost a lot of our friends to the battle. A lot of them. And it's sad. It's so sad, because they had so much going for them just being who they were.
Right.
You know? And but then there's also those other stories of recovery. I know of one of my friends that probably one of these benches, one of these 1, 2, 3, 6 or 7 benches or whatever, this is where he got his revelation of he needed to stop doing heroin.
What do you mean revelation though?
Like of where his life was. Like he didn't get his epiphany, because you don't get your epiphany until you're in recovery. But this is where he sat and said, what am I doing?
Right.
This drug is killing me. And he overcame it, and he's got many years of recovery.
Yeah.
But he sat, this is where we started, and this is where we came to finish.
You know,
And
it's
that-
crazy when you say that, like, what am I doing when you reach that place in life and you're like, man, you sit down and you're like, what am I doing? And
Because there's nowhere else to go down.
it's killing me, like legitimately killing me. And
I didn't want to leave that legacy for my children.
Right.
You know, because of their ailments. They already got, I don't want to say a hard life. They have it harder than others, but then you have to look at it on the other side. I'm not in a hospital going to children's every day watching my child get chemotherapy because they're dying from cancer. It was something that was manageable. And that's the way I turned it around on them. You know, to say, yes, you have a disease and there's medical stuff that you need to take care of, but the disease doesn't make you
Right.
or break you.
When did you take your first sniff of coke? When did you?
I was 18 and I fell in love with her.
Yeah. Let's talk about that and how that happened for you.
That also came into play with my disorder. You know, not just being an addict, but I have overactive ADHD, bipolar 2, depression, anxiety, and with the cocaine, it made me feel unstoppable. And then, you know, during my addiction to cocaine and alcohol, I told my kids, I am very sorry for the powder promises and the liquid lies.
Yeah.
You know, because when you're drinking and doing drugs, you say you're going to do all those things and you don't do them, but I did. I was able to, that's how I knew I could overcome addiction. And that's why once I realized that I was an addict and I did have a problem, I knew that I wanted to stop and I knew that I could. I just needed help at the beginning.
Right. What were you doing the night that you found, like, coke finally, you know, ran its course for you?
I sniffed a line of coke at 6 o'clock in the morning after being on a 3-day binge without shutting my door. And my kids were home.
So
And
your
I wasn't
door was
hiding it.
open?
My door was open when I sniffed a line of cocaine, and I never did that. So my kids got hip to it. They knew something wasn't right. They didn't know exactly what I was doing, but they knew something wasn't right when I was going into the bedroom and shutting my door and then coming out. You know, or I smoked cigarettes, and I'd smoke a pack of cigarettes when I was using, but then I wouldn't smoke for a week.
Right.
They're not as they were naive to it when they were little. But I got clean in 2020. So my youngest daughter was, at that point, she was 14. She got hipped.
Yeah.
And I was so close with my kids. You know, that, like I said, you know, those liquid lies and those powder promises. Because even if I was fucked up still the next morning, if I told my kids I was going to take them to the park, I took them. And I sat there in my shit, and I felt like shit. But that's what led me to pick up again. Because that picking up again, whether it's a drink or the drug, helped me to be be a mother. I was a mother. I was a good one for a long time, and that's where when I stopped cleaning my house or preparing meals, or I was preparing meals after sniffing a line of coke, my meals weren't coming out right, and my kids have champagne taste on a beer bottle budget.
Yeah.
Project that it did years ago.
It's like old Harbor, Old Colony. They're ripping it
Yep.
down now, but at the same time, there's gonna be, you know.
You know, I would cook home cooked meals, and that so we like Sunday through Thursday was home cooked meals. Friday we would eat out.
Yeah.
Saturday was a smorgasbord of leftovers to throw out whatever was ever left over to start over cooking again on Sunday.
Yeah.
And they started to catch on to that, and I started to realize that my relationship with my children was breaking down when they were starting to, because my oldest daughter's almost 5 years older than my youngest, so she was 19.
Did you have a man there in the house?
No.
And so you're raising your kids alone, addicted to drugs. What was
And their father knew all about this, but his thing was he couldn't stand to see me. I did have guys in my life, but they weren't anybody that I loved.
Right.
They were somebody that I could use, not to get drugs off of, but use. And some of them lived with me, but they were for duration, 5 years, 2 years, 2 years. I didn't have revolving doors, you know, just let any Joe Schmo around my kids. But it was somebody that I was in a relationship with, that whatever. I never wanted them to take care of my kids. I wanted them to take care of my addiction. So they were making it so I didn't have to take money out of my house or sell food stamps like other people had to feed their addiction.
Right.
And I passed no judgment on them. I just found a different way to do it. And it was with having guys in my life, but not revolving door guys. It wasn't my kids they never even saw me kiss somebody else. But my kid's father said that he couldn't. The reason why he was absent from their lives is because he couldn't stand to see me with another man, but yet he had a son 8 years ago. So that never made any sense. So that drinking came into place with that too, because my anger was so bad, and I know what I'm capable of when I get angry.
I know me as a father would, like, if if I had left the situation and my girl was using and having other men there, I'd feel some type of way. I'd be over there all the time. Was that the type of guy he was?
No.
Like, what was he doing?
But I would call him, I would finally humble myself and call him and tell him I needed help, and he would turn around and tell me to ask your boyfriend for it. My boyfriend's not here to take care of your responsibility and your children.
Yeah.
Those are your kids.
Right.
So that to me was just a lame ass excuse to not be a father, because it wasn't about money. Okay, because my ex-husband always told me, and I was married to him. I still carry his last name legally.
Yeah.
Because of my kids, just because of medical things, I wanted it to match up. That he told me if I ever left him, he'd go back on Social Security and I wouldn't get shit. Well, he went back on Social Security, but I did get money for him. I got money because of him, not from him. Yeah. But he's going around telling people that he gave me all these years, that he gave me child support, and that I used my child support money to support my habit. No, I didn't. My kids didn't know that we were poor until they were teenagers. Yeah. They didn't go without, okay? And then he's got people convinced that that's from his pension. You get a pension when you're in the union, right? Yeah. He was never in the union. Yeah. But he's telling people his side of the story because they're just as dumb as he is. You know, they don't know the truth. And I don't need to plead my case to those people, because if they're gonna think and go by what he says, because he is the absolute, there should be a picture of him next to the definition of a narcissist in the dictionary, you know, but he was absent from their lives. Now, my oldest daughter is living with him, and he thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah, you're welcome. I did all the hard work. I raised her to make her the person that she is today. And yes, you're taking care of her, but you should. You're her father. Yeah. Fathers don't babysit their kids, you know? And that was one of the things. So I said that's what helped me in my mind to be a mother, was the drugs.
So looking back, raising your kids alone, did you ever have to sell drugs, or did you get into that scene?
Yeah, but that was my own. I didn't have to. I wanted to. The lifestyle, the fast-paced lifestyle, because you could give me 2 pennies and I'm going to make it $200, and I don't have to sell the drugs. Like I'm resourceful. You know, my bills were always paid, but if I didn't have to pay the cable bill that month and put that off to pay another bill, like it was like I was able to manage money like that. I wanted to sell drugs because I was sick of being with those assholes, because they didn't do anything for me.
Right. What did selling drugs do for you?
It gave me a way to have my habit. That's how I fed my habit. Yeah. So I didn't have to take from my kids, and I was able to put food on the table and you know, give them the expensive sneakers and all that other stuff. I sold the drugs. They say never get high on your own supply, but I knew I had to sell the drugs to do the drug. But I made sure that I didn't belly up.
Yeah.
I made sure that I got the money before I did the drug.
How long did that last for you?
20 years.
20 years, huh? And
I don't have any drug charges on my record.
Yeah.
And I have a record.
Yeah, you did good then. Shit.
No, I didn't.
You did good at doing bad.
Yes, exactly. I'm a better criminal than you because I didn't get
Yeah,
caught.
absolutely. I always say I'm the worst criminal that ever
because you got
existed,
caught.
dude. Like, you can't even get away with something I didn't
even
do.
though Chad's situation is sensitive, his original situation, why he was up in jail to begin with,
Yeah.
that's what I make fun of him for. I'm always like, you're the one that's in fucking prison, not me, you know?
Yeah.
We have to make a joke out of it. And I'm not making a joke out of the situation
Yeah,
that he's in now.
I know that.
But I make a joke out of why he was in that situation to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, and I tell him, because, you know, he can't see me. So I'm always like, I'm sticking my hands and my thumbs in my ears and I'm going, na 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 na. And he pisses himself laughing. Like,
You know what's crazy is that now I'm sitting here with you and I feel the breeze, the street atmosphere.
do you see why we came here?
But Chad is sitting in a cell right now. He has no perspective of this situation whatsoever, right?
What do you mean, perspective?
So I'm about to get to it, right?
Okay.
So when I was in there and I would have my girl out here, she'd be looking out, doing whatever she has to do for me. And I'd be calling her and she'd be telling me, oh, I'm sitting on the couch watching TV, or I'm sitting out here at the park, say, or doing whatever. And it just completely didn't even register for me. I couldn't picture it at all.
Yep.
It was like it didn't exist other than the fact that she said it out of her mouth. It was like words.
No, but you want to know something that I did for him? I do security work sometimes on the weekends.
Yeah.
And it was nighttime, and I came down here and took pictures of here, like angled it that way, and I took pictures of the walkway, and I took pictures of this, and I sent them to him through Shutterfly.
Yeah.
Because if you send pictures to Shirley Max,
They get photocopied.
They get photocopied, but not through a third party.
Right, you could send them through Shutterfly.
And I
or
didn't
free
tell
pics.
him that I did that.
Yeah.
I took pictures of this very place right here. So now he does have a perspective. I gave them that visual, not just sitting here.
Yeah.
I think of him like that because I know his situation and that he doesn't belong there.
Right.
And it breaks my heart that he's there. So I'm giving him some form of the like, this is still where like, don't forget where you came from is what I'm
Absolutely,
saying.
yeah.
So he does have that visual
Yeah.
because I gave that to him, and it's funny that you asked that.
Yeah.
Because I'm, you know, and he's like, D, he's like, you don't understand what you've done for me just on our friendship level. Because what I'm doing for him now, and the fact that I'm in recovery now, because I wouldn't have been able to do what I'm doing for Chad
Right.
without my sobriety. So
Yeah,
I
because
am
you're
thankful
running
for
the
that.
streets, yeah.
I'm thankful for that more. It goes further than him because I'm a good mother now and I'm present. And my mother fell a couple of weeks ago, like a month or so ago, and I found her on the floor. And it's now because I'm in recovery, she's not living with me.
Oh,
She's
good
home
for
with
you.
me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm able and willing and available mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually to take care of my sick mother.
Yeah.
Because I did see the struggle that she went through when I was growing up of missing out on my life.
Right.
She did not fight this disease for all these years to only die by herself in her own home because she couldn't get to the bathroom on her own because her legs, now she's getting to the bathroom just fine.
Right.
You know, so my sobriety it's given me so many gifts that I just can't be more thankful for. And
Let me ask you this though, too. Using coke while you worked at Dana-Farber, were you?
I sniffed a couple. I went to work
Just
still
a couple
high.
lines, you know?
I still high, and I was writing grants. That's what I did for a living. I wrote grants for the research. I didn't write any of the scientific part of it. I am smart, but not that smart. I don't want to be. Book smart and street smart is the way to go. You know, but I was doing the budgeting.
So tell me how you got into Dana-Farber in the first place. You must have went to school.
No.
No?
I did not. My father worked there.
Oh.
And he worked in a department, and he was like the office manager.
Okay.
And when I found out that I was pregnant, I was looking for a job. Well, I had gotten pregnant in November of 2000, and I started working at the Dana-Farber in February of 2001. And I went for a job at the purchasing department. And the woman said, you're too overqualified for this job. Let me refer you. And she referred me to this woman named Beverly Lewis, and I'll never forget her. I don't even know if she's still with us because at that time she was older. She was a Spitfire. She was like 4'9" Spitfire, no kids.
Yeah.
But she was like me, no college education. She just knew what she was doing. She picked up on her shit. And I worked there for 7 years up until my daughter got diagnosed with the diabetes, and I resigned from that position. And because of the nature of my daughter's disease, it was almost almost like me and her had leprosy. Nobody would help me.
Yeah.
And it was like I only needed help for a short period of time. I had a career,
Yeah.
not a job. And that led to me doing more drugs as well, because now I had all this time on my hands.
Right, and money, not for nothing. What is it like having all that, a decent career with an addiction?
I was getting like a $10,000 a month paycheck. I had my own health insurance that I was paying for. I owned a house in Lynn that I bought by myself, and I was married at the time.
Selling drugs too?
No.
No?
No, because I was working. The
okay.
drugs were at the beginning
Okay.
and more or less after. That's probably why I never got caught, because you don't shit where you eat. I never got lazy and sold at my house. Nobody knew where I lived. I didn't bring that shit to my kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So maybe that's why. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why, and I don't question why. I just know that I had more of a purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
And more of a purpose was for me to take better care of myself, to take better care of my children, to take for my mother and her sake, for Chad and his sake. And then it's going to go even further when we ultimately get the goal of what we're setting out to do, and how you and I got connected, and why we're doing this podcast, and why I'm able to share my story, because it's a good platform for me too.
Yeah.
With all of that being said, it led up to me and Chad being reconnected and becoming friends. And at first I was his friend, and I felt his struggle. Just being his friend out here, and I had said to him, like, how can I get you money? This is before we got involved with each other, because he had made a statement that he was living off the land.
Yeah.
And that bothered me, because I know Chad's situation.
Yeah.
I know why he's where he is. But when he said that to me, it broke my heart, because family, I thought his family was different, and I thought that they were taking care of him. But that was my assumption. That was me thinking something that wasn't true.
Of course, and I mean, but in there, especially if you don't have family looking out for you, you living off the land, you have to.
You're
do what
eating
you
their
have to do.
chow food.
Yeah,
it's not even just their chow food and the thing that they're thinking of. They're taking care of the religious people. I don't want to generalize and hone in on a race, but the religious people, and they're eating fucking soy. What the fuck is soy? That doesn't give you nutrition.
Where they do give the Muslims so much better food.
You said it, not me.
Yeah, and the Jewish people.
But you can speak on that because you've seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
Not that I don't believe Chad, because I do,
Yeah.
but I didn't see it with my own two eyes, so I don't like to speak about it.
The halal trays, I mean, they give them real meat, real chicken, all cut religious,
And here
drained
he is having to barter with the kid from culinary.
Yeah.
But he can't use his money in there.
Yeah.
So that's not a struggle for me. But I don't like sending money through Cash App or these, through Venmo and stuff.
Why is that?
Why do I have to do that?
Well, why don't you like sending money through that?
Because I don't know these people.
Yeah.
And you never know who's going to charge, because I know that's a way for me to get money to Chad.
Yeah.
So he knows these people. I don't. And it's not about giving a phone number, because that's easy. It's about somebody reporting us. For some reason, now my Cash App gets shut down, and now I can't help Chad.
Yeah, because those are the things we wonder about in there. Like, why won't you just send this money? Because we all just want, like,
Because
hey,
it comes
Mom,
up.
Cash App
But
here,
not
Cash
only
App there.
but not
It's
only
like,
that too. You guys are convicts, right?
Yeah.
So somebody can make a Cash App and then take your money, right? And you can't get it back. But now they shut it off, so you can't get that money back. But then they'll say, "Oh, we gave you the wrong cash tag, whatever." Like, and then you're like, "Okay," and you send it, and now you just got duped.
Yeah.
And I'm not stupid
Yeah,
with my
people
money.
play games.
Yeah, and I'm not down for playing games.
Not the good
I'd
ones.
rather you, if you need money from me, I'd rather you not steal it from me and ask me for it. I'll probably give it to you.
Most dudes are stand up enough in there that they wouldn't do something like that, but
It's one bad apple that kills a whole
spoils
bunch.
the bunch. It's exactly what happened. That's why Cash Apps get used in the first place.
And
We used to just send money out of our accounts. That's the reason why you can't get money from Chad.
Yeah, but can't get money from Chad right now. They're fucking with him so bad with his situation. I know in a prison setting they fuck with you anyway. Like I said the other day, because those CEOs have nothing better to do. You know what I mean? But fuck with you all day long. That's how like stupid they are about some of the things. Like, we'll be talking on the phone, and you could tell the difference between the static. I understand in a prison setting they fuck with you guys all around. Like with our phone conversations, you can tell the difference between bad reception and static and the fucking mute button.
Yeah.
Because the second I start talking shit because Chad can hear me, right? And I start talking shit because that's just who and what I'm about.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it goes off mute when I start telling them that I can't wait till they end up in the fucking unemployment line because I'm gonna sit behind them and talk shit about them because all you did was like that's your life skill is hitting a mute button. Like I talk bad shit and I must get under their fucking skin because they let it go.
Yeah.
And then they don't bother us for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then like now what's going on with and these are all struggles being a girlfriend to somebody in there, and I hope other girls can relate. I know they can to some extent.
Tons of girls are going to be able to relate to some of the things you're going through. I mean,
But I don't just sit back and relax with it though. But I don't make phone calls and complain to people that it's fallen on deaf ears. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, you're going to bat for them, which is something that not a lot of people have. I mean, it
But
must
I
make
also
them
have
feel
a way
good.
of making good rapport with people.
Yeah.
And I'm not duping them, but they're in a position that can hurt Chad.
Yeah.
So I have to kill them with kindness. Am I making best friends with these people? No. But like today, I got the letter from the superintendent's office, and I got it emailed to me when they're telling everybody else that they'll get it mailed to them. I didn't want to wait for that, but I made a good rapport with the woman that emailed it to me right away.
What was the letter saying?
I can't, my visits are being denied based off of an open court case that I have out of Brookline District Court, which is for driving with no license, which yes is a criminal offense, but it's not a criminal felony offense.
Right.
And it says it. I have the letter that I wrote to the superintendent to show how far I take it. Because what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And Chad's situation is wrong to begin with. That's the type of person that I am.
Yeah, you
is I won't take
dot-
no for an answer.
Yeah. Cross your T's and dot your I's. Yeah.
Yes. and other girls would give up on that struggle. Being a girlfriend of someone incarcerated because they would take that no and not go visit him, and then there's a deterioration in the relationship, which only doesn't.
I was going to say, I have an
which only
important
doesn't.
question
Yes, which
that
only
goes
doesn't
along.
hurt her because she might love that inmate, but they need that. They need that connection, that
That's
human
what I was
connection.
going to say is, what does it feel like being his girl? And like, what do you think the detriment of him not being able to have that physical contact or that face-to-face contact?
Because he hasn't had it in so long. Because I thought his family was going up there to see him. Nobody has.
Yeah.
So it's not just being his girlfriend, it's being his friend is why I'm so adamant about getting up there. He needs a fucking hug.
Yeah.
The man needs a hug. He's human.
Right.
And Chad's a good guy.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with anybody showing emotion.
No.
He just needs a hug.
Yeah. I
You know,
agree.
and then
I mean,
and then I can't see what's going on with his leg.
Yeah.
He tells me what, so I can visualize it, but I'd like to see it.
Yeah,
Not that I want to see it, because it'll probably hurt the fuck out of me.
but it's like there's some of the things that you're going through out here. It's like I was in
But other
there,
girls
I
would
was-
give up, and I
was-
don't want to.
I was Chad for them, and you don't realize just how much a hug really could probably help, like just soften that fucking edge a little bit.
Or
take
just
away
seeing
that
somebody
stress.
other than
Yeah.
convicts, and we call them, we have names. We have the foes and the fawns. You guys are the fawns and the fucking COs are the foes.
Yeah.
He needs something else. He needs a change.
Yeah.
Because he was ready before I stepped in and God put me back in his life. He was ready to kill himself.
Yeah.
That's the severity of this.
I know.
Because he feels like everybody gave up on him, and he was a voice being in there, advocating for himself, trying to get his medicine and trying to do all that. And nobody was helping him.
Yeah.
And his mother was his proxy, but his mother doesn't understand the system. She just thinks her son's in prison.
What does it make you feel like knowing that he was at the point of suicide?
What does it make me feel like?
Yeah. How does it make you feel?
Because he was robbed of his life, that he wanted to take it away from himself. Now, when they already taken enough away from him, he was willing to kill himself over. He wanted to give up. But no, I wasn't back in my addiction, but I was hanging out with people that were still in active addiction, but not new friends. Unfortunately, I just lost my best friend, and I was trying to help her. I was hanging with her because I loved her.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm strong enough in my sobriety that I could be around somebody that was using, and it's sad because people would look at us being together and say Danielle's using again, not the fact that my friend was trying to get sober, but I was going out, dressing up, hanging out and bars, not drinking, having a good time. But eventually, if I kept doing that, it was on the road to my destruction as well. And I realized that. So we did something for both. Not that he keeps me in because Chad doesn't tell me what to do. I like staying in and being on the phone with them till they tell us to get off.
Right.
So it works both ways. But we're on the phone all the time. We have fun on the phone. We have fun together. Like,
sure.
I brought out the side of Chad that he even says that he lost.
Right.
He forgot that he was like that, you know, and that makes me feel good because I'll do anything for anybody, anything.
That's a great thing right there.
Anything for anybody. If,
Yeah.
you know, but, and I also did my due diligence. Even though I know Chad from back in the day, I also, what I'm trying to do, and as far as seeing him, because I'm not putting up my life on the line because he asked me to. I'm putting not my life on the line, my life on hold, not on the line, because I'm not going to lose anything from helping him, you know. But I put a lot of my own personal time that drugs and alcohol took away from me, and my own personal time that my kids' needs took away from me, and now I'm giving it to Chad because I want to.
Right. Some of the
He didn't ask me.
Right. And
you
some of
know?
the challenges that we go through in there as convicts with a girlfriend out here is that we don't get that connection. We it's almost like we fight it because it's like you don't want to feel any type of emotion and have that girl go and do you dirty because you can't trust anybody in there and it's really hard to trust.
But I haven't had to plead my case with him and say I'm trustworthy. He's heard from resources in and out, old friends and all this other stuff. And it's not like I said to him, hey, make sure you tell Chad. It just comes out naturally.
Right.
And he's talked to some of these connections on his own. And people will have told him, we're glad that you're with Danielle. Because she's a solid girl. Like my reputation on my own, just from being sober and the person that I've been all my life, but lost for a little while, tell him that I'm solid. Because that's one thing, I don't like liars.
Yeah.
Because then I can't trust you.
Right.
And so I always, Chad knows, because of my background too, where I came from in my family, he knows that I have that good solid foundation, which I think a lot of us do.
Right.
But we forget about. Like I always say, we're all born as babies, we're all born smart. Life makes you stupid. It's what you're determined to, because kids live what they learn what they live.
How did it start off between you and Chad in there? Not like how it physically happened, but
Well,
what
nothing
were you
physical
guys
happened
like?
because I can't get up to see him.
Well, right, but I'm saying like how did you guys come together, but how did you guys do together? Like, was it weird and awkward on the phone?
No.
No.
Picked up right. Did my personality and his personality work well together? We're two goofballs.
Yeah.
You know, and part of my humor is I have to find, you know, the good in the bad, whatever the day is going on, because sometimes he thinks I'm ready to fucking lose my mind from going through what I go through.
Yeah.
With them, like making phone calls or like, you know, hearing him laugh and he's wheezing because he wasn't getting his meds. You know, just being his girlfriend now or just being his friend in general, that bothers me because I can hear it. It's like, if I can hear it, how can they not? It's a struggle just being the girlfriend of an inmate. It's more of a struggle being a girlfriend of an inmate that has issues that you know that you can help him with.
Right.
So yes, I put some of it on myself, but I don't put on my plate what I'm not willing to eat.
Right.
I'm not taking on anything that I don't feel I can handle. And Chad, you know, he's the one that came open to me and said that he was having more feelings. And the first thing I said to him is, I don't want your bullshit fucking jail schmoozy. If you need something from me, I'll help you. Just ask.
Yeah.
And the kid still doesn't ask for anything.
Right.
You know, and that's where it comes in, where they're fucking with them. The kid has like $3,000 in his fucking account and he can't get any money.
It's one of those things, it's like in there, it's so hard to ask for help. And it feels like a personal short to even have to. You know what I mean? So you just expect the other person
Like, let me
to read your mind.
let me get on my hands and knees and suck your dick. That's what they make you feel like, but you know you're not going to do.
Yeah.
Especially in that setting.
Yeah.
But that's what they make you feel. To forget it, and then over time you just give up.
Yeah, you stop asking.
Because they say like do all these things. I can't fucking do them because you're not. Where's our happy hour?
Right.
Right? How are we supposed to have happy hour, and how are we supposed to tell you what the fuck is going on when you never show up?
Right. Imagine if they did have a happy hour for the people that visited or the families. Remember? Oh, then the issues would really get addressed.
They would never let me the fuck in that building. Let me tell you.
They don't like Danielle's coming. Everybody hide.
Hide. Run for cover. Like, yeah, they tell him that he has to get certain documentation for getting certain things, like about getting his money or complaining about them not giving him his canteen. They lost his canteen.
Right.
But they gave him his money back. But we didn't care about the money. He wants his fucking canteen.
All petty shit.
Yeah, just dumb shit. It's like, get a life. Like you make a big deal out of it, like a mountain out of a molehill. It's what we call the cross park, and the reason why we call it the cross park is because it's got a big X in the middle. But right here to our right is the Golden Gates. Their staircase that goes from here.
Oh, that's the Golden Gates. I've seen that so many times. Yeah.
So that staircase right there is what goes down to where Pierce Park is. Just growing up here, the whole experience of being a kid at the time when I was a kid in the you know, the 90s. The times don't, those times don't exist anymore. You know, kids don't do what we used to do.
You can't even walk around safely anymore. I wouldn't let my kid walk around.
In East Boston, I would.
Maybe East Boston, not in my neighborhood.
Because we're on the other side of the tunnel, like I was saying earlier. We're the only city of Boston on this side of the tunnel, so we're North Shore, not South Shore. It's different.
Webster
It's a different
and
aesthetic. This is Orleans Street,
Yep.
and this is what street that Chad jumped in that window on my lap. It's further down this way, but I'm gonna take a left right here. This is Sumner Street, so if we were to go take a right, it's a one way, but if we take a left, it's gonna take us to Maverick, which is where a lot of Chad's history is as far as how he started doing wrong things, and right in this neighborhood. So this is Maverick Station. Obviously didn't look like this. They certainly didn't have a Taco Bell because we're in a community that has real Latino food.
Yeah.
So for them to put a Taco Bell, we think it's hilarious.
Right? I know it's like disrespectful to fucking real Spanish or Latino food. I would say.
That was the thing. East Boston was a melting pot.
It still is kind of a melting pot, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But back in the day, like my heritage alone is, you know, I'm Italian-Irish descent.
Yeah.
So if you were a straight Italian, you lived in the North End. If you were straight Irish, you lived in Charlestown. You know what I mean? But if you were Italian Irish, you lived in East Boston.
Right.
That's what this place during 4th of July, you can't get down here because of the view.
Oh, I'm sure it is a beautiful view. Holy
Really
shit.
is. I mean, you can't, and it's right across the street from a project. So think about growing up, how we took this all for granted, but this wasn't developed. This wasn't developed like it is now. There was a pier that we used to go on and jump off into the water and hope for the best and not come out with a third eye, you know?
It looks decently clean now, I mean, for the most
Oh yeah,
part.
they cleaned up the house. I still probably wouldn't go in it just because I'm traumatized from being thrown in it. That's how I learned how to swim.
Wow, we should have did that interview right here. Iconic Boston right there.
Yeah.
They got it lit up right now. See the lights on the side of it?
And this is where we grew up. That's why being from East Boston, you don't understand it. Like, you know, people would come here and you hear airplanes. We didn't look up and say, oh my God, there's an airplane. We took it second nature. You desensitized to it. You didn't hear them anymore.
It was like me growing up on the highway. And so this is probably where, you know, Morton Beasy and friggin' all these different kids grew up playing at these projects.
I'm coming.
I'm right at the entrance where the rail house is.
Where the what?
The rail house.